Right, hello, Russell here from Handy's Property Services. Today I'm going to be experimenting with some MIG welding, something I've never done before, never even seen anyone do it before other than watch a video on YouTube. I have a little job coming up where I have to weld, or one of us has to weld, just the tiniest, smallest couple of bits of metal together as part of a larger job. So I was thinking, I've always fancied learning to weld, and it's the perfect opportunity to do it when I've just got a tiny little bit to do. So I bought myself a little set of welding equipment, and today is just experimenting. I'm going to figure out how to do it and see if we can work it or not. If it goes well today, then I'll do the job myself, and if it doesn't, then I've got somebody on standby who actually knows what they're doing, and I'll get him to go and do it using this equipment. But we'll see how it goes. So hopefully it's not going to go too bad. The other benefit of today for you guys is, well, obviously this is me as a complete beginner noob learning how to use a MIG welder from scratch. So hopefully I'll make loads of mistakes and get loads of things wrong. And then when you come to do it yourself, you'll know exactly what not to do. You'll have learned from my mistakes. That's the idea. Okay, so we have, this is everything that I've got. Obviously welding mask, very important. Gloves, very important. 2 bits of metal. This is my practice bits of metal. Like I said, I've only got to weld a small couple of bits of metal together. So I'm just going to practice on welding these 2 bits and see how that goes. This is the actual bit you weld with. And this is like the clamp. So you've got to clamp this on one side and you put the other bit there like that. And then you'd use this to weld. The reason you need this is because it has to, it's like an electrical circuit. So both of these 2 connect into the machine, then it forms a circuit when the 2 bits of metal connect to each other. And that's what creates the weld, the power for the weld. So let me get this out of the way and I'll set it up. So I've already took it all out of the box and put it all together, literally because I had literally no clue how to put it together. I was doing the first video I did, I gave up with it because I spent about half an hour literally like this, looking at an instruction book, trying to figure out what the hell goes where, you know. So I thought, right, I'll start from scratch. I already know what goes where now, so I can save your time with me just reading a bloody instruction book. Anyway, so right, the clamp goes into this side here. This is the positive. And this is just twists in on this one. This is one I got from Amazon, by the way. It's only a cheap one. It's about 100 quid. Haven't tried it yet. Can't tell you if it's any good or not. I've not actually welded anything with it yet. So, well, you can decide for yourself on this video, can't you? See how it goes. This is the actual welding. What do they call it? A torch, whatever you want to call it. Don't know what the technical name is. I'm not a welder, like I said. This goes into the one marked torch, obviously. Again, just screws in. And you've got to plug this one in as well. And then this is the bit that caused me all the problems when I was trying to do the first video, trying to figure out how the hell this spool of wire goes in. The idea is the spool goes on here and the spool feeds through, and it feeds through all the way, and it just keeps feeding through all the way through the cable and all the way up and all the way around, and it comes out to here where you're actually welding. So when you pull the trigger, the spool, the wire comes out. It's a continuous feed as and when you want it, as when you pull the trigger to weld it together. Quite a clever idea, I think, but it seems to, I think it'll work quite well, but only time will tell on that one. So the first thing you want to do is put the spool in. So easy enough for this. I'm just going to zoom in on this box so you can see how it goes in. You can't really see from there. So let's do a little zoom for you. Right, so there we go. That's actually zoomed in on the box. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So you've got the spool. Let's take this off. This fits. You've got to make sure that the wire for the spool comes out from underneath, not from the top, because the underneath part goes into there. That's the mistake I made on my first run with getting it the wrong way around. Also, you've got to be very careful. You can see how loose all this wire is. When I first took it apart, it just blew apart and went everywhere. So I had to try and reel it all back in again. So make sure you hold it as you take it apart, or it explodes. Oh, there you go. See, it's been on. So then this just feeds into the hole. Oh, actually, let me loosen this off. On this particular model, you've got to loosen this off. I'm sure there's lots of different models out there that work slightly different. But this one, you've got to feed it through here. Now, I don't know if you can... Oh, it's kind of starting to spin off again already. I don't know if you can see this wheel here. This wheel is what spins around and forces the cable through and all the way to the other end. So you've got two different grooves here. One groove is for an 8mm cable, and one groove is for a 0.8mm cable, and the other one is for a full millimeter cable. We're using a 0.8mm cable today, so it needs to fit in the smaller groove. So you fit it in, you pocket it through, pockety, and just keep poking until it's all the way in to the other side. I'm trying to do it without getting in your way so you can't see. Oh no, see what I mean about it popping open? Look at that. Jesus. I make the mistakes so you don't have to. So just be careful with your spool, because it will just explode and go everywhere like this. Let me unexplode it. Bloody annoying things it is. It's alright once it's on and in position, the machine holds it all in place, but until you get it on, it just bloody pops open and explodes. Don't know if that's normal or whether I'm just doing something wrong. Like I said, I'm a complete noob. I'm sure like an expert welder might have a way of stopping that happening. I don't know. Right, so let's try that again. Feeding through. And you can see you got to feed it through that last hole there, which is a little bit awkward. Oh, not quite. A little bit of a faff, but once it's in, it is in. Oh, come on, you little goat. Sorry, I'll just turn it this way so I can get it in a bit. Just to ruin your view slightly, but I'm never going to get it in otherwise. Right, there you go. So you can see we're from one hole to the other hole now. And you can see it's just above that groove on that wheel. So I was going to force it in a little bit more. Now what happens is when this wheel goes down, it pushes it into that groove. Don't know if you can see where it's slotted in, and that locks it in place. And that's all then in position, ready to be fed through. I'll just tighten this up a bit before I put the thingy on. Put this on, lock the spool in place. Robert's your mother's brother, Bob's your uncle. And there we go, we have got the spool in position. Yeah, right, so we close that. Actually, I'll leave that up so you can see it. Right, so now I'm just going to plug it in. Got an extension lead plug set up here already. Turn her on at the back. You hear the fan to keep it cool. Now, in theory, when I pull this trigger, this spool should start moving. Actually, one more thing. You have to set it. This welder, this particular one, does MIG welding or arc welding, and we want MIG welding. And we want it on 8mm cable, not 1mm cable. Sorry, 0.8mm cable, not 1mm cable. So you use that red button to go between arc, 0.8 and 1. So I'll put it on 0.8 now. Right, I was going to zoom back out again. Right, we are back on normal zoom again. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it. So like I said, in theory, when I pull this trigger, it should start feeding through. And it does, it's working! Now don't make the mistake like I did on my first run, of I put a bit of a bend in the wire and it got all seized up and it got all kinked up inside. It took the ages to sort it out. So make sure you're careful not to kink up your wire at all, otherwise it kind of spends a bit of time. I've spent a bit of time sorting it out. This is how much wire I wasted trying to sort it out earlier. Right, so at some point this wire should start coming out of the end here, in theory, unless it gets seized up again, which is quite possible. Today I'm just at home as well, by the way. This is where I live. This is actually my pool table with a bit of plywood on the top of it, which is what I use for doing little projects like this. Mostly little projects with my kids, actually. I'm a little 8 and a 10-year-old girl, and we always end up building something or other in here. I've prepared houses or built a cat bed out of plywood and cushions and whatnot. Seems to take a little bit of time to come through. I'll give it a second, it should come through in a minute. Right, as you can see, something has gone wrong. You can see down here, the wires got seized up in there somehow, again, and it's not feeding through. So this is this was only literally £100 off Amazon. So I'm assuming it's probably just not a very good one. If you spent a bit of money and got a good quality one, I'm sure you won't have any of these issues. But look, that's all kinked up and pretty much, oh, it's snapped now. That's actually snapped. So now I need to pull that all back through again. And then start again. That could be because the wire's all a bit out of position on the actual spool, isn't it? So maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know, but we've got to start this again now, unfortunately. I kind of feel once it's through and coming out the other end, then it'll be okay. But getting it to come through can be a bit of an issue by what I'm experiencing so far. So you see how that's all kinked up now? If I try to feed that through, it's just going to get stuck again. So I'm going to have to cut that bit off, which I will do in a short while. I'm going to take this spool back off again, actually. These spools got little holes, and you can see the hole there. So you poke the pockety thing through the hole just to stop it unraveling like that. There you go. So now the tricky bit is getting all this back out of the welder again. So I'm hoping I can pull it all out with a set of grips, because there's quite a bit in there. Oh, there you go, look. Well, look at all that wasted just because it got stuck. I've spent more, I've wasted more wire just with the wire getting stuck than I have actually doing any welding so far. I've not even done any welding yet. Luckily, you do get quite a lot of wire on the spool that does come with the welder anyway. So it's not like I'm short of wire. I'm just going to go with a pair of scissors. Right, so this kinked bit's got to go. And you see, it's all a bit wibbly wobbly now, where it's kind of gone. It's all not really that straight and that nice anymore, or it's all sort of exploded on me earlier. Oh, nearly did it again. So I might just get rid of all that wibbly wobbly stuff and just go back to the nice. There's going to be quite a lot wasted here, but it doesn't matter. I've only got a small job to do with it anyway. So I'm just going to get rid of all this and go back to the nicely wound on wire that was originally on there, rather than me rewinding it back on badly with loads of kinks in it. So that kind of looks good again now. So I'm going to hold it so it doesn't explode again. Right, we'll try that again, shall we? I'm going to put the thing on straight away this time, so hopefully it don't explode again. And then we are feeding it through again, aren't we? Same as last time. And hopefully this time it'll go a bit better. Right, straight in, no messing about. Put the clamp in position. Right, turn her on. What a waste. Make sure it's set on 0.8 mil, and try the button. And we are rocking and rolling again. Nice. Now, I do kind of feel the cable's in a much better condition from now, so it should be okay now. In theory, we'll see, won't we? Well, there you go. There's one mistake you can avoid just by watching me make that mistake. Make sure your spool is nice and tightly wrapped, and it doesn't explode on you like it did with me and unravel. And if it does, just get rid of that wire, because it's not going to go through. If there's any sort of misshape, if the wire's misshaped in any sort of way, it's not going to feed through with this particular model anyway. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I haven't tried any other models. Perhaps other models are better at feeding wire through. I don't know. Hey, we have cable. It is arrived. We have a cable at the end. This is good. I was going to cut that off. Right, so that is perfect now. We're ready. This is good. So we now know how to fit the cable and put the cable in. Now the exciting part. Figuring out how to actually do the welding. Alright, I'm just going to pause you for a minute. I've basically put, I'm going to show you on the camera a bit. I've basically put they're just bloody L brackets. I've just bent them a little bit. I'm just going to weld the two L brackets together, and they are both clamped using the positive charge clamp from the actual welder. So that cable goes all the way around and goes into the actual welder. That's the positive one. So that clamp just holds them in position, and then also creates the circuit between the welding torch, if you want to call it, and the actual welder itself. This little clamp here, the black and red one, I've literally just put there just to hold the positive charge clamp in position so it doesn't fall over while I'm trying to weld it. So that's not really doing anything other than just holding it in position. So it's not really a part of the welding process. Okay, so next step then is a bit of welding. Wish me luck. Get ready for explosions and fire brigade on the way. Don't forget the gloves. Not sure if bare arms is a good idea for this, so if I scream loudly, you'll know it's not. Right, here we go. I better turn it on, don't I? Always helps. Oh, just so you know, I have got it set. I don't know if you can see from there, but there's a couple of dials that set the voltage and the current, etc. So I've got them on the lowest possible setting right now. Right, here we go. And nothing, because I haven't got it set. He's not doing a very good job of holding it up, is it? Whether he's doing a good job of welding, we will see in a few minutes, won't we? The mask is doing a good job of auto darkening. Like, I can't see anything but the actual spark coming out of the welder right now until I stop, and then it lightens up again, which is pretty good. I've got to say, I'm impressed with that for only 30 quid. Right, let's have a little look at that then. First ever attempt at welding. Let's see. Is it welded? Quite hard to see with the mask on. God, there's a lot of heat coming off that. Or a lot of heat. I'll see if I can try and get you a close-up of it. So one thing I see straight away is it looks like it's welded together. It looks welded, but have you seen how the nice shiny steel that was there is now all stained and not so pretty looking, which is a bit of a shame. If you want to keep it nice and sort of pretty, I don't know how hot that is. It's very hot actually. It's amazing how hot that's got actually. It's very hot. Now, how strongly that is welded together, I don't know. I'm going to let it cool down, and then I'm going to test it by hitting it with something and see if it falls apart or whether it's strongly welded together. I don't know if you noticed, there was quite a lot of sparks coming off that as I was doing it, which was quite good fun as a proper man tool, isn't it? You know, I didn't protect my arms at all, and no sparks hit me on the arms. But I imagine on another day, if I'm not so lucky, I could have got a bit of a burn on my arm. So maybe be a bit more careful than I was with that. Right, I'm going to pause it and cool it down. All right, so I'm going to give you a close-up of it. So this is my first ever attempt at welding with a MIG welder. It looks very ugly. Does not look pretty at all. However, the job I'm going to be doing, like I said, it's even a small area in this. It's literally about 2 centimeters that I need to do. And it's all going to get painted over. And the shape of what I'm doing for my job is not, you're not even going to see any of that anyway. So I think that's actually not bad for what I need it for. I wouldn't use it for maybe perhaps other things where the metal needs to stay shiny, or you need a perfect, nice looking, neat line of welding material, which I'm sure a more experienced welder could do with this tool, but not me, I'm afraid. That's me on my first attempt. Right then, so we have now got a couple of bits of metal welded together. Now, the thing I need from this job I'm going to be doing, and I'm sure what most people need when they're welding, is it needs to be strong. It needs to be 2 bits of metal that are nicely bonded together, that are not going to come apart at the first gust of wind, you know. So I'm going to give this a few little whacks with a hammer. Well, not a hammer, I'll just do this. So far, so good. Pretty strong. Let's go a bit more extreme. We like extreme here at Handy's. Let's try a proper hit. Oh, well, that is surviving quite well, isn't it? That's going to survive a hell of a lot more than a gust of wind. I'm happy with that. That's very good. That is going nowhere. That's, yeah, very happy with that. That's very strong. That is not breaking off for no one. Excellent. That's great. That's perfect for what I need for my little job. All right then, so I'm going to do the other side of this couple of brackets now and see if we can improve the quality of the weld itself just by being a bit more consistent with my speed and, you know, my movement. So wish me luck. Hopefully this one goes a bit better. Well, that's how to set fire to your workbench. A metal workbench, probably not a good idea, actually. You might end up electrocuting yourself, but maybe some kind of fireproof matting down if you're doing a bigger project or doing it for a bit longer, whatever. Fire extinguisher on hand, perhaps. Alright, so here is the second weld. Looks considerably, extremely as bad as the first. Doesn't really look any different at all. Despite me trying to take my time and be more consistent with my movements, it pretty much looks just as bad. I do feel I am not consistent with my movements. My arm wasn't steady. Perhaps if I'd rested my elbow on the table to give me a bit more stability, maybe even my hand on the table as well, and run it along. Well, virtually rub my hand along the table to keep my hand steady, if you know what I mean. If you can find a way to keep yourself steady, then I think it would be a much neater weld. The other thing I notice is the mask itself. I need to learn how to use the mask, because the mask has different settings. So I can set how dark the mask goes when the light of the torch comes on. It went really dark there, so I could really hardly see anything at all other than the light of the weld itself, if you know what I mean. So it was quite difficult to see how steady my arm actually was while I'm doing it. So maybe I need to learn. Again, this would all come from practice and experience on how to set up the mask as well as hold the welder better. But I mean, in a nutshell, I think, yeah, this is a good product that does a job. It's not beautiful in any way, shape or form. But for what I need it for, I think it will be fine, actually. Yeah, and it's strong enough. We've been whacking it with a hammer, you know. It's not going nowhere, is it? Okay. Right then. So I guess we summarise then. So first thing, yes, this gets really hot as you're welding. So you definitely need some proper gloves. Loads of sparks flying off everywhere. Even set fire to my table, as you can see. Definitely need a proper welding mask. One that does auto dim so it doesn't dazzle your eyes so much, because I think you can damage your eyes. It does get that bright. Hopefully it doesn't damage your eyes when it's so bright on the video. I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know if you can see there, but on the mask you have got lots of dials on the inside that, actually you've got a dial on the outside that controls the dial as well. So I guess you can do that while you're actually welding to control where you're at with that. Welder itself, difficult to use as a novice, I'd say. Difficult to get the wire to go in and actually run through the whole thing. But again, that's probably down to lack of experience. I did let the spool pop open and all the wire came out and went a bit kinked up. As soon as I got rid of all that kinked up loose wire, then it just fed through nice and easy. So again, that's probably not the machine, that's probably me making a mistake, which again, learn from my mistake. Don't do the same thing, you know. What else can we summarize? Protect your arms a bit more, I'd say. Protect your surroundings a bit more. I was quite surprised by how many sparks were actually flying off then. My surroundings are all pretty safe anyway. I'm not really too worried. If this area does catch fire a little bit like that, you know, it's not the end of the world. Make sure, this is very important, your pets are not hanging around while you're doing it, because this little bugger will definitely try and jump on the table. Anyway, right, thank you very much for watching. This is Russell at Handy's Property Services. We are your South London go-to property refurbishment experts, which now does include welding. Maybe not experts, but it does include welding. Right, thanks for watching.